Welcome to this month's video from the Property Academy, where we will be interviewing expert speaker David Smith. David has experience working with various sized businesses across different sectors and has been doing so for 35 years, 15 of which has been spent at Asda, during the massive turnaround from near bankruptcy to a profitable award-winning business that it is today. Thank you so much for such an engaging session this morning with our lettings group on building a high-performance culture.
My pleasure.
What is a culture? Describe a culture to us.
Well, the classic definition is the way things get done around here. I think most people know that culture exists within their organisation, that cultures vary. I'm not sure that every organisation seeks to manage the culture to get high performance, but my contention would be that culture always trumps strategy, and if you have a great business model and a great strategy but you have a poor culture, you'll have a less good result.
So what's the consequence of not having a good culture then in your experience?
Well, I think there are many kind of permutations. You will have possibly turnover, you will have certainly better customer experience, and ultimately that will drop through to the bottom line. And I think all those things come together into the perfect storm if you get it wrong. So I think it's one of those things that you have to manage and you should be seeking to improve.
So there's 7 aspects to building a high-performance culture in your session. What do you feel is the most important aspect of that?
Well, my session is a case study of the turnaround of Asda from a broken, almost bankrupt business, which had a very poor culture, and we turned it around over a period of time to be a high-performing organisation that was ultimately the #1 best place to work in the Sunday Times survey. And looking backwards, I identified a number of things, 7 things that I thought were the most important as the ingredients, if you like, of turning around a culture. And I have, over the past 6 years since I've been out of corporate life, talking to many organisations, large, medium and small, and I find they're relevant in any organisation. And I think the most important of all of those 7 things in terms of building a high-performance culture is who you hire, because the calibre of people that you hire in an organisation is an immediate reference to what's the latest person, what's the latest view that management have of a good person. If people react well to your hiring and they go, wow, that person's fantastic, I think that has an effect on certainly their performance as an individual, but it affects everybody because people are reassured that leadership knows what they're doing, they're hiring the right people, and everybody's performance is lifted. Conversely, if when someone starts, people go, what on earth has happened here? Then I think it affects everybody's performance. And not only do they underperform and become a problem, I think it affects other people's performance too. So hiring is a big signal about your culture, and it affects everybody.
So how do businesses measure their culture? I mean, how do you take a step back from your business and think, yeah, this is what our culture is? How do you go about implementing a change and finding out where you are really at that moment in time?
Well, I think lots of businesses now are taking some kind of measure of culture. They use some of the very basic models. Many of them have simple surveys of a number of questions. Some of them use the models that are pervaded by consultants and so on. Some of them use their own internal measures, but I think there are ways of measuring attitude and surveying how people feel. But the more important thing is not just to find out where you are, but to have an action plan to improve.
So what do you think leaders should be doing about culture?
Well, I think great leaders recognise that culture does trump performance, and is a factor in terms of how their organisation performs and want to manage that. And therefore, I think the wise leader wants to have a strategy that says, where am I? What are my measures saying? How are my people feeling? And therefore, what do I need to do about it? So this kind of session is a session where leaders find out what the main ingredients of the cake are so that they can apply that in their own organisation. And I think anything that you're doing should be practical and simple and useful, and above all else, actionable.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.